Hello, welcome. Dr. Sushma Singh this side. Today, Unit 27 Dam and Displacement. We are going to start our lecture with the topic Dams and Displacement, Persons and Values. The Government of India has tried to rescue the situation by its rehabilitation package. Although there was no national level policy for resettlement and rehabilitation till 2004. In February 2004, the central government promulgated the National Rehabilitation Policy for the project displaced persons. Even before that, certain states such as Karnataka, Maharashtra, Punjab and Madhya Pradesh had evolved state-level policies on resettlement and rehabilitation. Most rehabilitation efforts have been to provide alternative land titles to the evictees or compensate them in cash. As for the monetary compensation, the evictees are forced to go through the arduous bureaucratic procedures to procure what is rightfully their due. The land in the case of the Sardar Sarovar project had been assessed according to the old land records, which underprice its present value. Often the land provided by the government has been of poor quality. The evictees are required to produce land deeds, which many do not possess. Compensation through the cash has also not been an appropriate form of the compensation, as it has been observed that the beneficiaries often spend the money on short-term requirements and are left without money and are homeless in a matter of a few months of rehabilitation. In cases of rehabilitation through alternative land titles, the problem faced by the government has been of locating land to settle the displaced. Large parts of the forests of other areas have been cut down to distribute land to the displaced, as is evident in Nandurbar district of Maharashtra. The rehabilitated population of Nandurbar has still not received formal registered copies of the land they have been settled on. The forests have been encroached upon by the rehabilitated population, much to the resettlement of the local tribes who derive large part of their sustenance from the forests. There is a direct relation between the environment destruction and the impoverishment of the evictees. For one, both are victims of the dam project. Secondly, the most importantly, forests are the alternative lifeline of the rural poor. Much of the subsistence is derived from forest products. Forests also help them pull through the seasonal lean period, as they make do with fruits, herbs, green leaves and the game available in forests. This fact has not been given serious thought while considering the issue of the rehabilitation. Growing tensions between the rehabilitated population and the local tribes has become a cause for concern. 40% of the forest in Nandurbar has been declared as degraded. The policy of the land for land is based on the premise that there is excess public land available for distribution among the evictees, which is questionable. The land available most often than not is poor quality land or non-cultivable. This premise also reveals the linear perception of livelihood option. As elucidated above, livelihood includes a host of economic activities, and there is no one activity from which livelihood is derived. Compensation of land then is only a partial remuneration of the losses incurred by the evictees. Ideally, the replacement of the livelihood lost only can provide any kind of relief to the displaced people. Neither the national policy nor the state policy laws have provision for this. The debate on large dams has focused on displacement and its effect on the ecology and human beings. Large dams, however, represent a larger purpose or vision of society. They were considered as symbols of a modern, progressive world. They demonstrated the capacity of human intelligence and ingenuity to tap and use natural resources for human advancement. They stood for the ability of modern science and technology to overcome the constraints of the nature for the benefit of humankind. The issue which is equally important and often overlooked is as to what is the type of society that was and is sought to be displaced by this modern vision of progress and development. Also, who are the people most adversely affected by this displacement? As mentioned earlier, the peoples and communities who are displaced through development programs live on the margins of the society, such as tribes, pastoralists, and the subsistence agriculturalists. These groups have inhabited forests and survived in the fringes of the mainstream civilization for centuries. The benefits of development programs rarely accrue to them. Although monetary compensation is provided to them, scant attention is given to their customs and traditions while rehabilitating them. The rehabilitation policies reveal intolerance to the cultural and social issues. The displaced are numbered among the large masses to be rehabilitated. The reasoning that has predominated the issue of rehabilitation of displaced person is largely economic. Economic issues are supposed to be survival issues, while the destruction of culture is considered as secondary. Economic and cultural rehabilitation are seen as distinct from each other. In most traditional agricultural societies, it is difficult to separate the two. Economic skills are disseminated through cultural practices and the process of socialization, while culture is renewed and reinstated in societies in the process of economic production. Needless to say, almost all festivals and ritual functions in the traditional society mark different stages of work over the various seasons in the year. In such a scenario, the prioritization of the economic over the cultural aspect of life demonstrates the secularization and modernization of life evident in modern industrial society. Displacement through large dams then has not just meant moving people from one place to another, but has also entailed destroying an entire way of life built over generations. Economic and cultural skills accumulated through ages to survive in often the hardest and the environmental conditions. In an unrelenting efforts to find solution to the problem of poverty, the development planners have evolved projects involving unimaginable expenses, encouraged investments in agricultural and industrial production, which has created drought-like condition in many parts of the country as well as increased economic inequality. Thus, in a quest to dispel poverty, the poor are displaced and rendered homeless. In an attempt to deal with the drought-like conditions and the crisis of water for drinking and irrigation, they have been quiescent to destroy existing natural resources to create new ones. the circuitous attempt at development or the pursuance of the modern development that aggravates the resource crisis while simultaneously addressing the problem by further exploiting existing resources has caused greater harm than gain. It has been proved to be unsustainable both in terms of environmental consequences and as a model for alleviating poverty. Rather, it has come to symbolize a politics of development that is highly materialistic and aggravate the catering to the needs of a select population. Here we want to close this lecture. Thanks for listening.